Hyundai's flagship SUV, the Palisade, has only been around since 2020. However, when this nameplate first came out back in 2019, it essentially took all of the past mistakes that Hyundai learned from their previous three-row entries, the Veracruz and Santa Fe, and wrapped it into a package that was built and designed for the American market for people that have large families. Sales took off, and this model eventually became one of the top-selling vehicles in the segment with well over 100,000 units sold every year. And for 2026, Hyundai is looking to follow that up with an all-new second generation. As you can see, if the old version wasn't bold enough for you, this new model has a very much more distinctive design. Underneath the hood, we have an all-new 3.5-liter V6 and an interior that has enough luxury and technology that could easily fool you into thinking you were driving a Genesis. So as you can see, this week, we are testing out the latest 2026 Palisade in the top-of-the-line calligraphy trim. And the big question I answered, has Hyundai made enough changes to their flagship gas-powered SUV to once again redefine the segment? Stay tuned to find out. Now, before we get into the very bold design of this all-new second-generation Palisade, the company made some pretty big changes as well underneath the hood. Now, a lot of competitors basically either offer a V6 or a turbocharged 4. Hyundai decided to keep the base engine a naturally aspirated V6. However, this year, it's gotten a little smaller at 3.5 liters. Now, as you can see underneath the hood, you're going to find a transverse mounted engine, and this is the company's newer V6. It's technically smaller versus the previous generation. Now at 3.5 liters, it's a double overhead cam, gasoline direct injection engine, and it makes 287 horsepower and 260 pound-feet of torque. That's a reduction of 4 horsepower and 2 pound-feet of torque compared to the previous 3.8 liter V6. You can take your pick between either front-wheel drive or for an extra $2,000, like on my test car, you can spec in the company's H-Track all-wheel drive system. Now, fuel economy is rated at 18 in the city, 24 on the highway, around 20 mpg combined. It's designed to run on regular gas with a 19-gallon fuel tank. You're looking at around 380-ish miles of range on a full tank. Now, Hyundai doesn't quote a 0 to 60 time, but the previous 3.8-liter V6 we tested would easily do 0 to 60 in around 6.8 seconds. Top speed should be just under 130 miles an hour. And the maximum towing capacity is set at 5,000 pounds. As this car sits, it weighs in at around 4,800 pounds. So this new model has gained roughly 300 pounds in the redesign. Now, of course, the big other story is the addition of a hybrid powertrain. I haven't had a chance to drive it as of this filming, but next week I'm actually flying out to Austin, Texas to finally drive the hybrid. The review for that vehicle should already be out by the time you're watching this review. That model offers up to 329 horsepower and up to 29 mpg combined. So that should be the model to get, especially if you guys don't like the power or the fuel efficiency of this V6. But regardless, it is nice how Hyundai puts a V6 with an 8-speed auto. The hybrid has a 6-speed auto, but let's go ahead and close up the hood here and talk about the exterior design. Now, as you can see, the look of this car, when I first had a chance to see it, I found it to be very, very robotic, but at the same time, it was also incredibly distinctive, just like the previous generation. This particular one that I'm showing you is the fully loaded calligraphy trim. It is painted in this color called Classy Blue Pearl. As you can see, when the sun hits it, it has a beautiful metallic fleck to the paint. It's a very boxy design. You can see with the big Hyundai grille. It's got their new Hyundai logo, of course. It's kind of more along the hood area as opposed to in the grille. The grille itself on the calligraphy has this illuminated light bar that goes across the upper portion there. It kind of gives it that trendy look. The calligraphy also has some bright metallic finishes in the actual grille itself. And then the lights, these right here are just very, very large. This is actually the daytime running light and the LED turn signal. As you can see, the headlight is actually these two projectors here for the low and the high beam. No fog lights on this car, however, which is something that I believe some competitors do offer. I just recently saw the new Kia Telluride that actually has LED fog lights as opposed to this model. But in general, I don't think that the DRL or turn signal needs to be so large on this car. I'm also noticing it's just a very flat design. It's very, there's very little organic lines in this vehicle. It's just kind of robotic. So I'm not the biggest fan of the front fascia. I think the Telluride looks a lot better, but let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. You can see the calligraphy trim includes some silver metallic accents in the lower fascia, and you also have these active grille shutters that open and close based on if the engine needs the additional cooling. You have a front camera system there for the Hyundai Driving Assist, for the 360 camera, and it also has cameras in the windshield for their Highway Driving Safety System 2.0. But overall, in this classy blue color on this calligraphy trim, it certainly is going to stand out, especially if you're looking at some of the more vanilla options like the Toyota Grand Highlander. Now, moving around the side profile, it's built on an updated platform, and Hyundai gave this car a growth spur this year. Its wheelbase is now 116.9 inches long. It's nearly 3 inches longer, and its overall length is around 199 inches long, so it's around 2 inches longer than the previous generation. Still not the longest in the segment, but it's definitely a nicely proportioned vehicle. Now, as you can see, the calligraphy includes these very intricate looking 21-inch alloy wheels. This is the only trim to get the 21-inch alloy wheels. The hybrid will actually have the same design for the wheel. It's wrapped in a wider 265 by 45 R21 Pirelli Scorpio all-season tire. You have all-disc brakes, independent suspension, and Hyundai says this model gives you around 7.4 inches of ground clearance. If you need more, the XRT raises that by around an inch to give you 8.4 inches. I also love how Hyundai gives you a full paint finish here along the wheel arch trim, which is nice. You do have some silver metallic accents along the rocker panels, and then you can see the mirrors are body colored. These are also power folding. There's a big scratch on that, so just ignore that. It's kind of like a two-tone look with the black and the body colored area. You have your camera mounted down there. And then you can see the A-pillar here is blacked out to kind of give it a floating roof effect. And then as you can also see, the panoramic sunroof is included on this trim. It does open up to vent air. However, it's not a continuous sunroof. It's technically two separate pieces, but at least it's nice how it's there. The metallic trim piece continues on the upper roof panel that kind of extends to this lower D pillar here, which kind of gives it a distinctive look. And then when you back away from the car here, this is where you really see the boxy, almost previous generation Range Rover proportions to the car. In fact, if you guys look at our review on the Kia Telluride, the Telluride looks like the current generation Range Rover, whereas this model looks like the previous generation. But let me know in the comment section below which design you guys fancy a little bit more. I personally like the look of the Kia more, which is kind of the way I've always felt, even with the previous generations. Now, looking at the rear, you can see very bold looking full LED tail light, which has like a vertical stacked LED with LED turn signals, LED brake lights, LED reverse lights, which are located down there in the lower bumper. It boldly spells out Palisade at the back, and I also really love the way this rear spoiler looks. It's a large rear spoiler with the integrated third brake light. That's the camera for the digital camera rearview mirror. And then your rear wiper is nicely, cleverly tucked underneath there, which is great. And then you can see the rear bumper diffuser has more silver metallic accents. Sadly, no exposed exhaust tips. They're kind of tucked. At least one of them is tucked underneath there. And that's a downgrade versus the previous generation, which had a chrome dual outlet or single outlet exhaust with dual tips, which looked a little bit sportier. But in general, you can see the cargo area. Let's talk about that. The Palisade Calligraphy includes a power activated liftgate with a hands-free function. And this is where the Palisade also excels in the cargo capacity, because even with the third row up, Hyundai says you have around 19 cubic feet of storage space, which isn't the most in the segment. The Grand Highlander and the Traverse offers a little bit more, like like 1 or 2 more cubic feet, but this is still very, very usable with the third row up. If I want to lift this up, you can see there's also plenty of underfloor storage here, along with your jack. It looks like and some of your tools to change out the spare tire, but that's a very useful storage area. If you want to fold down the third row seat, Hyundai makes it pretty easy. In fact, you can actually do a few things with this third row, and I've never seen this before. For example, you can actually adjust the second row from back here, and that's because the third row and the second row is actually power adjustable. So when it's highlighted there in third, I can actually move the seat forward and back. So I can actually slide it forward if I wanted to, which is unheard of in this segment, the fact that you can actually slide the third row seat forward to give you a little bit more cargo space, or you can also move it back to give more leg room. It's a little bit slow, just to show you guys for demonstration purposes, but it's nice how Hyundai gives you that feature to where you can slide the seats forward and back. Now, when you're ready to fold them down, you basically push that down here, and as you can see, it starts to slide forward a bit, and then it actually will fold down. Now, as you can see, it's a little bit slow again, but this is a feature that I don't think Kia is going to offer on the Telluride. When you fold down the third row, you get a maximum of 46 cubic feet of storage space, which is very usable. You can see there's also a very flat floor. And then if I want, I basically push that button and I can push down on the second row, which again, you can power fold from here. Not very many competitors in this space offer that, but when you fold down everything, Hyundai says you get a maximum of 86 cubic feet of storage space. 86 is definitely among the better numbers in the class. Really only the Grand Highlander and the Traverse and the Acadia offers a little bit more space, but I love the fact that this top of the line calligraphy trim has those power folding and reclining second and third row seats, which makes basically creating a flat load floor very simple in this top of the line model. So obviously Hyundai went extra bold on the exterior of the new Palisade, but on the inside, this is where the company decided to pull from their luxury division Genesis, especially on this top trim. Now, before we get inside, let me show you guys the key fob. As you can see, this is Hyundai's newest key fob with that egg-like design with this shiny silver metallic coating on the outside of the key. When you flip the key over on its side, it reveals the Hyundai logo with all your typical buttons here for lock, unlock, remote start, panic, and then you can also use their smart park feature where you can move the vehicle forward and back from this fob if it's parked in a tight location. I've heard people complain that this key has a cheap material that wears off pretty fast. You can see there's already scratches on the key, but it is definitely a weird looking key. Hyundai does offer their digital key too, where you can use your phone as a key if you don't want to carry this around if you're an owner, so keep that in mind as well. Now, as you approach the door handle, as you can see, Hyundai decided to go with a traditional pull-style door handle, unlike the Telluride, which has retractable handles. If I touch that, you can see that will lock the doors. It'll also electrically fold in the mirrors. That is a feature that the old Palisade didn't have, or was power folding mirrors, so it's nice that they added that on this new version. Touch the back of the door handle, that will unlock the door for you, and that'll let you open up the door and reveal the interior. Now, as you can see, my particular test car has a really amazing color combination with the classy blue pearl and this light beige and navy two-tone interior. So you have basically this almost white interior with the dark blue accents. So it's like a two-tone combination. This trim is the calligraphy trim, and it's the one that gives you basically heated, ventilated, and a massaging ergo motion driver's seat. You can see the seats also adjust in like 14 different ways, and they also have a relaxation mode where you can actually extend out this little thigh extender there and you can take a nap, which I don't really know if that feature is needed when you don't need to sit and charge a vehicle. I mean, that's understandable in the Ioniq 9, but remember, the Palisade is not available as a plug-in hybrid, just as a gas or a hybrid vehicle. You can see the door panel materials have a soft touch injection molded plastic with some faux stitching up here. There's real leather and padded area over here. There's beautiful ambient lighting behind the door panel here that's interchangeable. I love the silver metallic trim here. You have windows that are one touch up down for all four, silver painted plastic door handles, and you also have two-person memory, and that's how you access the massaging seat. It's only on the driver's side, so keep that in mind. Down here in this lower area, it is hard touch plastic, but it certainly makes a wonderful first impression when you look at this interior, although I will say the seats do look a little bit plain. There is a nice calligraphy badging there embroidered into the actual head restraint. Now, stepping inside, this vehicle has roughly 7.5 inches of ground clearance, so it has a nice easy step-in height. As I shut the door has a pretty solid sounding thunk. Remember, this is built on their newer architecture, something that it shares with the Telluride. Now, once you're inside, you can see there's no badge on the steering wheel. Instead, it has the new Hyundai logo, which is 4 dots, which stands for H in Morse code. These actually illuminate when you turn the vehicle on, or they glow red when you turn the vehicle in reverse. Start-stop button is right here on this little stalk for the shifter. And because this model is not the hybrid, it just has a very traditional starter noise, and all Palisades come with basically a 12.3-inch center display with their newest CNCC software behind it. It also includes wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. And then you can see the upper trims, I believe it's like SEL and up, will have a fully digital 12.3-inch cluster there, which is a nice touch. And you also have a camera that watches your face. It has their latest driver assistance tech. This trim also includes a head-up display, which is a feature that a lot of people are starting to expect nowadays for how expensive cars are becoming. This upper portion of the dash also has a soft touch injection molded plastic with some stitching there. And you also have this kind of, it almost looks like a fabric, but this is technically another like leatherette synthetic material. I also love this wood look trim. I don't know if this is real wood, but it certainly looks beautiful. It feels like real wood with actual graining texture. It's like a light birch wood, which is beautiful looking. It also is accentuated here on the center console. And then you can see this area has like a leather covered material. It's slightly padded as well. And I just love the kind of wraparound waterfall look of the dash of this car. It certainly looks very upscale. It looks very luxurious. There's also beautiful ambient lighting behind there, in addition to in the door panels that's interchangeable. And I also appreciate how Hyundai kept a combination of touchscreen and hard buttons. So you can see 2 knobs for your volume and your tuning, 2 knobs for your climate control, which is a triple zone. You have a touch sensitive button here to turn on your heated and cooled seats, heated steering wheel, of course. It has a little bit of haptic feedback. Your drive mode selector is here. There's basically 4 different drive modes: a My Mode, Sport, Normal, and Eco. We'll try that out later on during the driving scene. And then you can see the steering wheel is a manual tilt telescoping. That's where some competitors offer a power tilt telescoping wheel, so I'm surprised that this car doesn't have that, but I guess Hyundai wants to save a few things, obviously, for Genesis. Now you can see down here, there's a few more buttons to adjust your dimmer. Your start, stop, defeat is here. Your electronic parking brake, of course, is over there. And then you can see this little center console area has a lot of storage. There's also a lot going on here. You can see there's 3 USB-C charging ports. That's your UVC filter there, or it's basically a sanitizer for your phone. If you put stuff in the center console here, this is where you can basically turn on that UVC filter to sanitize your phone or whatever you want to put in there. Wireless phone charging pad is here. It's elevated and it's also I believe vented. It also has the little status bar there. Nice size cup holders, of course. I'm surprised this doesn't slide forward and back, but when you look behind here, you can see big storage area with your 12-volt power outlet. And I showed you guys this earlier. It's a pretty relatively deep center console storage area, so that's good. It's also a nice padded area over here, which is nice if you want to get comfortable. I also love how Hyundai and Kia puts like a lot of the seat controls here for the passenger seat, where I can adjust this, move forward and back. The heat and cooled function works extremely well. And then if I push that, you can see that's where you can activate the massage. There's basically 3 different types of massages. You can also go into your settings here. You can adjust the timing of the massage. It's basically called comfortable stretch. There's 2 intensities. It's a better massage versus some luxury brands that I've tested. I just wish Hyundai would also include it on the passenger side, but it's nice how it's here. You typically won't find features like that in this particular segment of vehicles, so kind of keep that in mind. This infotainment system has their new CNCC software with wireless CarPlay and Android Auto. It is very quick and snappy and responsive. You can easily adjust things, you know, the way you'd like. You can also turn on your heat and cooled seats from this screen over here into the second and the third row. The second and the third row offer a heated seat functionality. The second row offers a cooled seat functionality. You can also fold the seats and move them forward and back from here. So there's a lot of adjustability in this interior, and that really shows you that Hyundai is serious about, you know, giving us the luxury and technology features that you don't expect to find in this particular class. So many ways to customize this interior as well. And then I also wanted to show you guys really quick when you go into your settings, you can actually access the dash cam when you go there. So this feature allows you to basically record and review footage that's recorded here in the front dash cam and in the rear dash cam over there. This is something that a lot of people add in the aftermarket. It even has like event detection. It has an SD card that you can pull in and out. It also will detect when there's an incident that happens and automatically save it so you can't record over it. So this is a feature that's only included on the Calligraphy trim, but it's a wonderful feature to have. It's a feature that I think a lot of other manufacturers need to start to offer. Now, over here you can see there's a nice little storage shelf. Open that up, you can see the glove box is damped but not lined with felt. Offers additional storage there, which is nice. The Bose stereo system in this car also sounds pretty upscale. If you guys are an audiophile, I highly recommend going for that. The steering wheel is a nice feeling leather with a 2-tone look. The heated wheel also covers the entire wheel. Lots of hard buttons here to control the infotainment display, the cruise control, paddle shifters, which are metal accented, I believe, which is a nice touch. I also love the Alcantara material for the headliner. This is the only trim to get that feature. You also have LED map lighting in here as well. This sunroof, as you can see, it tilts or it opens up. It's basically the standard size in addition to the panoramic roof that's in the back. There's a bar here, obviously. There's panel material here as opposed to a continuous screen. You have a digital camera review mirror, which is on this trim, which is good because your view out of the back is a little obstructed unless you have all the head restraints folded down. But overall, this interior feels incredibly luxurious. I love the 2-tone color combination. There's also a brown interior or a black interior. It feels like I could easily put a Genesis badge in here. And compared to some rivals, the interior design is much more interesting. It's filled with high quality materials with good build quality. And it just makes you think that you're driving around in a luxury car, which is something that Hyundai's always excelled with, especially in the old Palisade. Now moving into the back seat of the Palisade, remember this is their flagship gas-powered family SUV, so you're going to find plenty of space when you look at the second and the third row. Now first of all, this trim does come with the captain's chairs. This is also the only trim that gives you the power reclining second row and power third row seats. These seats are also heated and ventilated. You're going to get that function though, I believe, on the limited trim as well, but without the power function. These head restraints also have like a wing effect to it. It basically makes the second row almost as comfortable or as nice as the front row of the vehicle. You can see the door panel has that same soft padded material from the front seats with the faux stitching. You have these retractable sunshades, which is a feature that a lot of buyers really like. There's even side exit assists where the vehicle will tell you before you open the door back here that there's a car or something coming. You have padded leather over here. This is that same leatherette material here with that textured look. And then there's hard touch plastic here. Along with some built-in cup holders, but overall this makes a great second row area that's almost as good as the front seat area. Now once I get inside, you can see the legroom space back here is just incredible. In fact, Hyundai says you have around 43 inches of legroom back here. 43 inches makes it around the best in the segment, which you're certainly going to notice. I can easily stretch out and cross my legs back here and get super comfortable. There's also a nearly flat floor here. If you guys go for the lower trims, you'll get a bench seat. This top trim only includes the captain's chairs. But it certainly, gives you plenty of room to stretch out, which is a wonderful thing on road trips. You have 2 USB-C charging ports here. You have a 12-volt household, or a 115 watt or volt household power outlet, along with this little storage compartment that pulls out. That's why this console isn't as deep as it could be, because there's additional storage here. The Telluride, when you pull this out, offers like a little table, which the Palisade sadly does not have that. You have 2 storage cubbies here. And you can see above me, this is where you're going to find the separate climate zone, along with your heated and cooled seat buttons. They're located up here. Your rear air conditioning vents are located in the ceiling, and I love this material here, which you can see is very, very high quality. The one thing I'm noticing is I can't close this shade here from the back, which I'm actually surprised Hyundai didn't want to include that. You have to ask basically the front passenger to go there to the rear to close that if you need to. But you can see this seat, you can slide it forward and back. You can actually slide it forward a pretty good amount to give third row passengers even more legroom. However, that cuts into the second row space, obviously. This is with the seat basically almost in its full upright position. You can recline this seat. You can see I'll recline it back. It actually gets pretty incredible recline here, so you can get comfortable on those longer road trips. But I mean, most of the times you're going to be sitting upright anyways. But overall, with this, glass roof letting in a ton of light, this is a really nice place to spend time in the second row area, which is, I think a reason why people really like this car is just the second row offers first class accommodations. Now, getting into the third row, you can obviously go through the center over there if you'd like, but I'll show you guys what it's like to fold this seat down. And you can either do so by pushing this button, but I found that the quick access is actually by pushing this button. So if I push that, you can see it's a power second row, so it has to slide out of the way. This is kind of where a manual seat would be faster, but it's nice how this at least slides forward, because it slides forward in a way where you could leave a child seat anchored here and get into the third row if you need to. Now, as you can see, getting into the third row here, you're going to find also first class accommodations. Now, first of all, the space to get back here could be larger, and this is kind of where I think the power mechanism in these seats takes up a little bit more space. But once you get back here, you can see Hyundai says you have around 32 inches of legroom back here. Now, 32 inches is certainly class competitive. The Grand Highlander offers another 1.5 inches of legroom. Now, here's the cool part about the third row is I can actually push this button here to make this seat basically slide forward and back. Now, personally, if you slide it forward, my knees got crushed here, so you'd have to ask the second row passenger to move up. This is with it all the way back, and you can also recline the third row as well, which is, carried over on this side too. So this is a really nice third row that has some unexpected features. You have USB-C charging ports there. You have 3-level heated seats in the third row, which you don't typically find. You can see it's on this side as well, along with another USB-C charging port. These features are not going to be included, at least that I saw, on the Telluride. So it's another reason to choose the Palisade. You have a nice big window here to allow for good visibility. Hard touch plastic materials here, but you do have 2 cup holders here and 2 more cup holders over here. You have your third row air vents located in the ceiling, along with some nice ambient lighting. Sadly, this roof panel doesn't come back here, but there is a nice cutout here. So when I'm sitting back here in the third row, you can see there's actually a decent amount of headroom space. But I will say that while the Grand Highlander offers a little bit more legroom, the Palisades definitely has a third row that's the most luxurious. In fact, this third row has more features versus some luxury rivals like a BMW X7. So Hyundai did an amazing job here on the top of the line trim, even for the third row passengers. So here we are back behind the wheel of the all-new second-generation Hyundai Palisade. Remember, in addition to, completely redesigning this thing, Hyundai also swapped out the old 3.8-liter V6 with a new 3.5-liter V6. So technically, it's a smaller V6. It makes 4 less horsepower, 2 less pound-feet of torque. It's still hooked up to an 8-speed auto. 287 horsepower is still plenty. And the last Palisade, the 2024 model that we tested, did 0 to 60 in around 6.8 seconds. So let's go ahead and see what we can get now that we have this vehicle back home. I've got my race box up here because it gets the best signal right here. So we've got the vehicle in sport mode. We'll brake torque it. It's a nice sounding V6 and it's smooth. It's just a lot slower. And in that run here on a completely level ground, we got 7.93 seconds. 7.93 is pretty disappointing considering the last 2024 Palisade that we tested with the 3.8 liter V6 did it in 6.8 seconds. Same thing with the Kia Telluride, the current generation, with the bigger 3.8 liter V6. I'm going to, I guess, credit that, or I'm going to say that the reason for that is because this new generation has gained around 200 pounds of weight. It's also lost power. So that's kind of a, a downgrade compared to the previous model. Now, 7.9 is not a horrible number. A lot of the competitors in this space are right around either the quickest one is the Nissan Pathfinder. That does it in around 6.4 seconds. Something like the Honda Pilot will do it in 7.3 seconds with its 3.5 liter V6. But when you put your foot down with this engine, what you notice is it's very light on torque. You have to really push this engine. You have to rev the crap out of it to actually get it to accelerate, which you're not gonna mind doing so because it has a nice, pleasant sound. It's also smooth and refined, but it is a little disappointing how it feels a little sluggish now. So I do find that to be a little annoying. Let's try another 0 to 60 run. We won't brake torque it here, we'll just floor it. It feels okay off the line. The transmission is also pretty smooth. We got 8.5 seconds there. So 8.5, that's a little bit more uphill, but to be honest, it's disappointing. So there's a big reason why you might want to consider waiting for the hybrid model. Now, I'll finally be driving the hybrid version of this car next week. I'm actually flying out to Austin, Texas next week. By the time this video posts, I'll already have my first drive review of the hybrid model, so I'll be curious to see how much faster the hybrid is, because this powertrain, while it is smooth, it's refined, it doesn't have very much vibration, it is going to struggle when you actually have a lot of people or stuff, or if you're planning to tow, that 5,000 pound towing capacity. That's gonna make this thing feel even more gutless. So I do find it to be a little bit of a disappointment that Hyundai made this new version significantly slower. But for most people, it should be fine in terms of performance. At least it is a really refined powertrain, because the old Hyundai V6 had a little bit more vibration coming through the pedals, through the seats, through the steering wheel. This definitely feels like they've targeted more of like a Genesis, a luxury branded customer. Now, this engine does come with auto start stop. You can turn it off via a button there. It doesn't have any kind of 48 volt mild hybrid system. And when you're driving the Palisade in general, it's definitely tuned for comfort. Hyundai very much wanted this car to have a comfortable ride, good visibility as well. I can see out of the front and the side quite nicely. Out of the rear, it is blocked by the rear head restraints, but on this model, you can fix that by just going to your digital camera rearview mirror, and it gives you that full panoramic display. I'm also sitting here getting a massage. I mean, you're not gonna find massaging seats in this class, so kind of keep that in mind. But in general, this car just feels a lot more refined. When I put my foot down there, around town driving, it's fine. It's really not until you are trying to pass somebody on the highway, that's when you notice the engine just lacks the performance that I want. Now, thankfully, it's augmented by a transmission that is quick and snappy, but it's also a torque converter automatic. So for the most part, it's smooth. When you put your foot down, it is relatively decent at just coming out of its top gear and giving you that additional power to rev the engine out. That's when it's in sport mode. I'm gonna switch the drive mode here into my drive mode, which allows you to basically custom tailor some of the settings. If I go into there, into the settings, you can basically just augment the powertrain and the steering feel. There's no adaptive dampers in this car, so don't expect to find something like that. But the ride quality is very good. Even on these 21-inch wheels, I took this vehicle on a longer road trip, and I have to say, I was impressed with the ride. It's smooth, it's refined, it's very quiet in here as well. Aside from the engine making a nice V6 snarl, you don't really hear too much in terms of noise. So it's a very good highway car. Again, just make sure you plan those passing maneuvers, especially if you're trying to get around that slow-moving semi or that slow person that's blocking the left lane. You're going to be wishing for more torque, especially. That's where a turbocharged engine, like what the Grand Highlander does, for example, the Subaru Ascent, for example, those are just going to have more power And then of course, if you guys are looking at like the Mazda CX-90, that's a car that can sprint to 60 in around 6 seconds or 6.2 seconds. So the Grand Highlander as well, with its hybrid powertrain, Hybrid Max, can do it in under 6 seconds. So sadly, the Palisade with its base engine is the slowpoke of the segment. I actually can't even think of something that's slower than this. So I imagine the new Telluride, whenever it comes out, will also be pretty sluggish as well. In terms of tech, I do appreciate features like the blind view camera system, the full suite of driver assistance tech in this car. It's just a really easy car to live with and drive on a daily basis. Let's try another 0 to 60 run here. .9 seconds there. That's with it again on level ground. So overall, I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed, but you don't buy a vehicle like this to go drag racing. Just know that if you pull up next to the old Palisade or the old Telluride, the current Telluride, in this new version with the V6, you're gonna get smoked and you're gonna notice the downgrade in terms of the power. Now, in terms of the fuel efficiency, this is where this V6 is rated at like 1820, 22 mpg or something like that. It's, in my week's worth of driving, I was averaging around 16 miles to the gallon in mostly city driving. Again, that's because I'm constantly putting my foot down, trying to get it to accelerate. On the highway, I did get it up to around 23 mpg, which is not bad, but again, it could be much better. That's where the hybrid powertrain is gonna get you roughly 9 mpg better in the combined ratings, so keep that in mind. On a full tank, it was showing around 350 miles. I got around 320 with this car. Thankfully, it does run on regular gas. It has like just under a 19-gallon fuel tank. So it's pretty, okay range, but that's where the hybrid's gonna get you almost double the range. In terms of the tech, the dual 12.3-inch displays, they work incredibly well. I've got the wireless CarPlay hooked up. It looks good. It's not an overwhelming amount of screens. There's no silly or useless passenger display. And I love this interior. It feels very upscale, very Genesis-like, very luxurious. So Hyundai definitely got a lot of things right with this car in terms of the interior, in terms of the refinement, in terms of the drive, visibility. It just needs a better powertrain, but that's, again, where the hybrid model comes into play. So my recommendation, if you're considering this car, just make sure that you test drive the hybrid as well, because this V6, while it should be fine for maybe like 70% of people, when you start planning to carry a lot of people or tow heavy loads, you're gonna notice it is the slow poke in the segment. Now, with just over 110,000 units sold in the US last year, the Palisade remains one of the top-selling mainstream 3-row mid-size family SUVs that money can buy. After spending a full week with the fully redesigned second generation with the gas-powered, or with the gas engine, I have to say they're going to continue that sales. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised to see Hyundai eventually approach 150,000 sales, because this new version is just that good. In terms of being a family vehicle and even a pseudo-luxury car, or even a real luxury car, there's plenty of reasons to like the Palisade. It has one of the best ride qualities you're going to find in this segment, even though we're on these big 21-inch wheels. The interior is also very quiet. It's very well put together. It has very comfortable seats, amazing technology, including the built-in front and rear dash cams. I love the fact that this actually comes standard only on this top-of-the-line calligraphy trim. The V6 engine underneath the hood, while it is a smooth powertrain with a smooth shifting transmission, I am disappointed that the performance went down. You can again credit that for the increase in the weight, the decrease in the horsepower. Hyundai switched out to this V6 because of emissions. I guess the 3.8 was just a little bit of a dirtier engine versus the 3.5 that replaced it. But again, you can solve that by going with the hybrid. Now, as of this filming, I haven't driven the hybrid, but our review should already be posted from the first drive, and eventually I'll get a hybrid for a full week to test, which I'll post an updated review on that at some point as well. But the V6 0 to 60 in 7.9 seconds should be fast enough for most people, until you actually plan to carry up to 7 people or tow up to 5,000 pounds. But on the highway, you're definitely going to notice that it lacks a little bit of highway passing power, and that's because that V6 is light on torque. That's where some competitors with their turbocharged engines just offer better performance in the mid-range. I'm actually surprised that Hyundai didn't want to use their 2.5 turbo without the hybrid and the new 8-speed auto that they just introduced in the Santa Fe. I actually think it would have been made for a better base engine versus this V6. Even though I like the sound of the V6, it just had slightly disappointing performance. The second and the third row is also among the most spacious in the segment. Cargo area is average, but do you really need more than that? I mean, the Grand Highlander and the Traverse are bigger, but some would say that they're a little bit too minivan-like in its proportions or too big and cumbersome to drive. I do wish that Hyundai made this car a little bit sportier from behind the wheel, but I appreciate the fact that they recognize this as a family vehicle, and most people aren't going to care if it, is going to be able to attack your favorite corners with precision. It's a competent car that's easy to drive, easy to live with. And it also is going to be an excellent road trip vehicle, and with the ability to carry all of your people and stuff, it is definitely going to be a car that a lot of people are going to enjoy driving on a daily basis. Now, if you're interested in purchasing the new Palisade, you're going to have to pay a little bit more, obviously, for the new version. All that extra technology and luxury features doesn't come cheap, but the base SE with front-wheel drive is going to start at just under $40,000, around $39,500. It's around $2,000-ish more versus the previous generation. Seems like a worthy increase for all of the extra stuff and space that Hyundai gives you. Most of you are probably going to step it up to at least an SEL trim, but I think the sweet spot in the lineup is probably the SEL Premium. That's going to give you the heated and ventilated seats, the 360 camera, the power liftgate. Those are features that I think most people are going to want, along with the panoramic sunroof. That's going to start at around $45,000. Add $2,000 if you guys want all-wheel drive. So mid $40,000 range. Maybe upper 40,000 seems like a good deal, especially when you're looking at the rest of the competitive set. Now, if you guys want this fully loaded calligraphy trim, that's the model that's going to give you the 21-inch wheels, the upgraded leather, the Alcantara and the headliner, of course, the front and rear dash cams. This model is going to start at just under $55,000, add $2,000 for all-wheel drive and the destination charge. There's no other options to add. You're looking at $57,800 as spec for this model, which is actually a pretty good deal. There have been fully loaded versions of the Grand Highlander or CX-90 that have been like almost $60,000. And then of course there's like vehicles like the Pathfinder, for example, that's around $55,000. So I would easily pay a couple $1,000s more versus those other rivals like the Pilot, for example, to get all the additional luxury touches of the Palisade. But also keep in mind the hybrid powertrain is an extra $2,000 on top of this. And for me, that could potentially be the sweet spot until I actually drive and live with that vehicle. But overall, if you're looking for a 3-row family SUV, this model and its sister vehicle, the new Telluride, should easily make it to the top of your list. With all that said, hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on the brand new 2026 Hyundai Palisade Calligraphy. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at redline_reviews. Like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.